Welcome to Appy Hour. Today's topic, studying and reviewing using Appy. So kind of our big focus question for today is, how do you study for assessments and review for tests with an awesome tool like GAF and Chromebooks in your classroom? So this is our agenda for the day. Take a look at each of kind of our areas of focus, and if you like them, if you're cool with them, give me a smiley face emoticon in the chat. These emoticons let me know throughout the presentation that you get it, you're ready to roll or move on, or you agree or disagree with something. You can be creative. A standard emoticon I put for you, but I'm open to all sorts. Even a surprise if you have to a little at me, I'll take that as well. Cover our what to review, what do you need to know. We'll wrap up with a break room PD. So we'll wrap up with a recurring feature that more support than this material right here. If you have any questions at any point during the presentation, my colleague Lynn has joined us, and you can send her a text message directly through the chat. And welcome, Lynn. So starting with, here's my big picture moment, if you want to know, it's transformative instruction. Now, a lot of times in Appy Hour, we refer to the integration continuum, where we talk about integrating technology and what that looks like. And transformative is as you're encouraging the use of innovative technology tools to facilitate higher order thinking. That might not be possible without technology. And no place does this speak more loudly to me as an educator than when it comes to studying and reviewing. Because while your short-term goal is getting the student ready for the test, the assessment, the quiz, the AP exam, the IB assessment, you have this real opportunity for a long-term goal to give your students ways to study beyond your classroom. You're really teaching them and their brains how to get ready and get for assessments, which are going to face them throughout their educational career. We still take tests ourselves, like national board teachers are still taking content exams. So the tools you give them today will help them prep and be ready for studying tomorrow. So let's with that ultimate question, that big one of what to review. I'm going to change the screen to show you a fun technique. It uses slide. Your screen's going to change for just a second. It's going to change on you. And don't worry, that's supposed to happen. I'm going to bring you over to my slides presentation. You'll be able to continue the conversation, ask questions, give feedback, give any shout-outs if you like something or don't, by taking your cursor up to the very top of the screen. Roll over it. There's a little menu up there, and you'll see a chat icon, and you will be able to roll there and continue the conversation as you go. If you could give me an emoticon to let me know you found this chat, that lets me know we'll be ready to move to the next section. And also to my colleague Lisa Fuller coming over from another presentation. Welcome, Lisa. Cool. Oh, there's nothing more kind of, end spring, beginning of summer, May worthy, or for the AP exams out there, I suppose it's April worthy. And I actually don't know when the IB exams go, so Liz, if you want to throw in for your content area, you can. There's nothing more common than reviewing in class. And so this is one of the ideas we have that actually I was showing at Springbrook High School just a couple of days ago. That is a really simple way to review. And I'm going to throw the in the chat. If you've logged into your Google Apps for EDU account and click on it, you'll notice that you'll be able to get in on the presentation as well. use slides is a really cool, easy technique to be able to scan a review. You can take all of your key terms and put them on an individual slide. You can ask students and assign them, like I could assign Lynn to piety, and I could assign Lisa to inelasticity, and Liz, you could get entrepreneurship. And I could assign each of my students to these terms and have them come in and write up the review notes right here on the terms. So they could come in and take their text and write up what folks need to know. In fact, if they find a term they don't know, they can highlight it, click entrepreneurship, and Google will help search that term for them. So they can come in and find, without having to go to the internet, without having to go out to Chrome and get distracted and all that other stuff, they could come here and look up what the term means and check out different pieces of research. So scaffolding a review this way, then all students can a gallery walk without having to get up. They can walk around and see what all their different peers have written on the review. And I think this idea, kind of very adaptation, just a common what you did before, what you do now, gets really cool, is one of the problems I always had with review is you ask kids, what question should I answer? And just because the first kid raises their hands and says entrepreneurship doesn't mean that's the most important one there, right? There are a lot more terms. Inelasticity, which I may or may not even be able to say correctly, might be the burning question. So you know that that's the one the kids want. Well, if all the students have gone to the presentation with you, you could ask them to show their energy. Much like in Skill Teacher, where they ask you to go to a different corner to get an answer, like everyone who was worried about this, go to corner 1. Everybody worried about this, go to corner 2. You can do that same thing here in Google Slides. So I'll ask, I have Liz and Lynn and Lisa are all in. Can everybody go to the piety slide? It's actually purple. Watching, you'll see that Liz is already there because her little face popped up, Lisa popped up. I'm here. Lynn is up here. Maybe she didn't think that was really important, but there we go. You can see that all the little faces move to that slide. Well, how cool is that in class? If you, instead of asking your students to raise their hand with what question they wanted, you ask them to vote with their mouse, and as they click on the slide, you can see where their energy is. So instead of answering questions by raising hands, you can tell what they want to know more about by moving around. And once we've answered piety, I can say, all right, pick the next one that you want. And you'll see that different people will go to different places and you can pick the energy for those questions. So a simple way that is really efficient and really easy to do is to give a vocab review, have different students put different slides, kind of create their own review sheets, and then ask them to vote with their mouse by moving around to which slides you want them to answer first. When it to what to study, that's our tip for the day. Any questions, thoughts, add-ons? Go ahead and throw them in the chat. If you don't have any, go ahead and put a smiley face. On. Question comes with what will I need to know? And to the students. And it really is one of kind of those old hats. I know my AP teacher, John Maloney, used to every year, this is what the DBQ question on the AP US exam was going to be. And an aha moment for myself as a teacher when I realized, weren't my ninth graders trying to predict what I was going to write for their CRs or their essays? If they thought about it, and they could nail it. There was no big secret here. If our theme was change versus continuity, I was going to ask them a writing question that made them compare change and continuity of, the Reconstruction. They could guess this. So it's one of the things I did into my classroom was having the students predict what they thought the questions would be. And if one mind is pretty good, graders thinking together, when I did this, actually actually, they didn't even have the term crowdsourcing, but we know that crowdsourcing is really an effective way to make predictions like this. One is okay, but 100 together, they get pretty close. So the suggestion I have for you here is come into the form, make a form like this one. I'm going to make a new one here. Form new form. Just ask students a question of what do you think the essay topic will be, and turn it into a paragraph text. Students select what they think the essay topic will be. You get responses. The students can submit it. You can share the answers with them, and together they can work to predict their tests. Not only is it useful for them to do well in the test, but it's a really good study strategy because you're not just asking them to guess the test, although they think that part is fun. You're getting them to think about what might be on the test and study those areas more in depth. So what Kids Study is to give them a way to facilitate collaboration around guessing what the essay topics will be. As Liz points out, it's a lot better than us telling them what they'll be, and it's not surprising that they're actually pretty good at guessing it when they get together and think about it. And then since they guessed it, they feel like they're debunking the system. We got it. So I think it's really fairly simple. And when it comes for you, you can see, that's why I waited to create this one. You could see how easy it was for me to come in and say, I could give it a nice title too. Guess the essay. And at the bottom, you just say, show links to the results. Now when your students go and take this test, this little quiz, and they push them in, maybe it's on ice cream. This is not a good essay question, but they can see the previous responses overnight. You'll see kids at night checking on this, going back and looking to see if your homework to them was to guess the essay topic. They'll come back and check it the night before the test.
Hey, Carrie.
Jump on, Lisa?
Thanks, Lisa. Another thing you can do for if you want to differentiate this, for that maybe need a few hints, you can provide a separate form to students where they might do a sort of kind, like a blind sort, so you don't give them the title. They're still going to guess the essay, but you're giving them terms and ideas that will kind of direct their thinking if they just need a little bit of a differentiated way.
Absolutely great idea. And as they get better at it, and they will get better at it, we can pull away the scaffolds and they'll look at it. Another review for the test that uses forms that combines both the guessing and the ranking of what's important is pushing out for them a review for your test. Now, what I did is have a list of review items right here, and the student can come in and rank which ones they want the most. You could do it right. Which ones do you think will definitely be on the test, or even more importantly, which ones do you want to have the most review on, and have them submit it? What you do is the students who take the time to fill it in can come in and get their answers in here. And let me make sure I have turned on. I believe you want to make sure you turn on that they're sharing their responses. And that will let you see which areas have the most energy, kind of like doing a consensogram, but since they're not physically you can do this without them having to physically be in the same room with you. So as I turn on at the bottom my publish and show results, students come and take the review. Here we go. They submit. You can all see the previous responses, and this is where they'll tell you what the answer first. I'm going to clearly do growth of suburbs and Johnson's Great Society programs first, and then jump down to African American Civil Rights Movement, because that's what my students have told me they care about the most. It seems like I have to put all those terms in. This is where Google helps make that not really be as much of a pain in the butt at all. In fact, all I did was go to the final exam review sheet from U.S. History here, if I wanted to go in, I'm like, all right, let me go find an area. Oh, here we go. Nothing like balanced and foreign policy. I love the Cold War. May do too. Press copy. So copy all these terms. And then once I copy it, Google just in for you. Their question. Oh, back to my form. All you have to do is add an item. So boxes. And when you want to do the questions, you just press paste. And you see what happened? What happened was Google knows each of these new guys is a new line. And so that fast, I have a nice little multiple choice, good question. I'm going to refresh it. You'll see it's right down here. And I can ask kids for their power. So you could do this at the end, the last 10 minutes of class. What questions do you want me to answer? You could do it overnight. Go home, tell me what you're thinking about. Ways, but as you go through, you're going to be able to see the responses and really scaffold your support for the answers. And you could even include here your BCR predictions. It could all be part of one form in one way. Questions or comments, you can throw them in the chat. I agree with Liz that I think it's a powerful thing for them to check which they want, what they want you to spend your time on, and it makes them really look at their sheet and come in and pick the thing that seems relevant. They have to think about where you're going to spend your time. Do some action research on.
Okay, I do see a couple of elementary people in South. It's definitely something that can be used K through 12. Carrie's presenting right now. Just, with appropriate content, even though these elementary school kids have to do exams, it's used all the time.
And even if it's, I saw the book projects being mentioned there. That is also something where you can say, these are the 5 or 6 steps, that process that we're going through. Which ones do you think you have the most time on? Do you need more time? Do you need another, couple minutes? Do you need any of these things? I think that's really powerful to let kids tell you what they need. What they need to know is one thing. Now let's get them to study it. So when do we do this? So I have kind of 2 areas, and I think I'm going to focus on the second one, calendar. And I know you can tell me in the chat how you are about it, but I think it's probably, for me, calendar is the most underutilized native app to Google Apps for EDU that I use. I just personally, I like my Outlook calendar for organizing my life. But with students, they don't have an Outlook calendar. So when to study can be something that we can be a useful tool for to really support it. So I'm going to switch over. Now, I see I have at least one calendar lover out there, so that makes me super happy. So Betsy and other folks, if you've got good ideas to share on that, please share these pieces. There, I'm going to pull up calendar right here. A little with the WebEx tools. There we go. Here I am at calendar, and you can have, one of the nice things about Google is you can have lots of different apps. And calendars can actually be ones that are that you can find in other workers' calendars. I know, I don't know anybody else, but I'm a University of Maryland fan. And one of the things I do, my husband's a Ravens fan. I didn't spell that very well. My husband's a Ravens fan, and so one of the things I did when I go to public calendars, which I would need to my parameters for all other calendars, is one of the things I did is I searched to just put the Ravens schedule on my calendar. Another thing I did personally for myself when I was in the classroom, so that tells you how long Google Calendar's been around. I went and found holidays in the U.S., and I put all the Jewish holidays and all the Muslim holidays and all the Christian holidays on my calendar, so I could remember not to plan on giving homework on Rosh Hashanah. I'm not Jewish, but it helps me to know Rosh Hashanah, don't give homework. Yom Kippur, don't give homework. These big days, those are things that helped me. Well, those kinds of reminders year after year were just something that it told me. Well, what if your calendar just tells your students when to study? I made a little Studying is Awesome calendar. So here are my calendars down here. You can go down and create a new calendar. Study more awesomer to, sorry, English teachers out there. And then you can set some different parameters for it. You can share it with everybody in MCPS. So if you have a Studying for U.S. History calendar, you could set it for everybody, help all kids out. You can make it public, which would push it outside of the MCPS count, which you may or may not want to do. You can share it with individuals within the system. Created your calendar, create calendar, and you can put events on it. By anywhere on the page, create an event that you can then update and study. This is what's kind of cool. You can add guests, which can include your classes. So students can not only follow your calendar if they choose to themselves, you can come in and type your calendar events and investigations of science. I'm not in that class, so it won't work for me. But everybody who's in investigations of science will be able to see the events on their calendar and get reminders to go with these different events. So 15 minutes, an hour beforehand, you put it at 8 o'clock at night, review your notes, organize your notes. Everything you do to get ready and plan for a test or study, you accept onto their calendar. So you set, first thing I do is organize my notes. The second thing I would do is sit down and review them. Third thing I would do is prioritize. Whatever your study calendar is, especially for big things like the IB exams and the AP exams and final exams, you can sit down and prep them for. It's not just studying and reviewing for tests. You could do this with anything that goes on multiple day projects. So if your students are getting ready for their inquiry projects, you can do a chunk of time to set them up. It's one skill that becomes scaffoldable. That's not a word, that you can scaffold. The first time you do it, you set up the calendar. The second time you do it, maybe they set up dates you force them to put on their own calendar. And then the third time, maybe you have them do it and pick what worked for them. Big English projects where you had to write note cards. If you're an English teacher out there, I love English teachers, but let me tell you, note cards were not my thing because on the ground and it was all over. But that's it. I have my own thing. I organize this way. So you can force it in the beginning and then wean them off of it. And of instruction really comes. You've given them the tool, you've gotten them to practice and get good with it, and now they know how to apply it, college life and beyond. They do work on the iPads, they work on iPhones. I know I live with mine at all times. You always get your best results when you use the Chrome browser, but there is a Chrome browser for most devices out there. So if you're using like Safari on a iPad and you download the Google Chrome for an Apple device, you'll get a better experience, but they do work. Is a nice way. If you can set up a calendar, you can hook it with a Google group, you can set up events and invite individual students to them, and you can even search other calendars out there and have them apply to your calendar for your own personal use, like I did with the different religious holidays. So I was able to be mindful of other people's needs, where the families are going to be, even if I wasn't necessarily paying attention to that holiday in my own calendar. Any other questions or thoughts, go ahead and throw them in the chat. If you don't, give me a smiley face. And I think this one's a super easy one. It all works. Is what should you be studying in the first place? So getting kids to once you know what to study, what do you like? I said that wrong. What do you study? Meaning, what do they do when they go to study? Like, how can it happen for them? And I'm wondering if I have any Quizlet folks out there, because that's one I'm going to jump in and show you right now. If you've used Quizlet, give me a yes or I have. That would be fair. Oh, there. Now, I first heard about Quizlet because a friend on Facebook who has kids in elementary school was telling all her, friends that she was creating Quizlets for the vocab quizzes for her third grader. And of course, this friend was a former teacher who's out on, taking care of her kids now. And I'm like, you can't give it up. It doesn't matter if you stop teaching in MCPS. You still want to do teaching type things. So, and I had actually a pretty good one. And one of the things, what Quizlet does, well, let me show you one. I went for my philosophy class, and I was thinking, I'm going to make a Quizlet to do with my students. Then I had this moment, well, I'm on logical fallacies. What if someone else made it for me? So not only should you think that way, your students can start thinking this way. They can come in and search for any number of topics. I ended up finding one, thou shalt not logical fallacies, that was actually geared directly to the online resource I wanted my kids to use already. So someone had actually already done it for me. Does is it gives spectrum of studying, and this is one where transformative comes in. We've all done study cards in our lives, and some people think they are fantastic. Great, not everybody. So Quizlet lets you put in the content you want to be quizzed on or tested on, and gives you a variety of different methods to learn it. Some of these are collaborative, like Space Race. Some are traditional, like flashcards. And some of them really focus on learn, like they try to get you to practice them in different ways. I invite you to kind of take a look at some of these different options. The flashcard's pretty standard. Learn. Ask me questions. I need to go and answer. So I'm like presuming that real or perceived relationships between things mean that one thing is the other. This is probably cause and effect. It's wrong, but look, it tells me. If I think I was really right and maybe I just spelled it wrong, I can do this. And it lets me go through and do my practicing. Actually, type what you hear. So, something, and I have to write in my answer, which is neat. There's a little test feature here that makes you go through and take a test with the content that you entered. So you only entered this once in. I didn't have to go in and build all these. I just put my content in once, and it was here. And then there's scatter, and this one was just fun. Took a little while to get into to figure it out, but you actually are dragging and dropping answers of each other. And when you get one right, let's find wagon here. Oh, no, when you get one right, they disappear. So I really like scatter. For me, I liked a whole lot. And there's also one on race here. And you have to, as the words race across the screen on you, you get in the right answer right here. So you could use the SpeechPad app, which we've highlighted a couple times if you wanted to actually say what you were talking about as you went through, which would be kind of cool. And they also will give you hints up here. If you didn't know what it was, they give you a hint to those answers. So, and of course, flashcards. You can't scan documents in, but using some of our other Appy hours, I'll reference them at the end. I'll give you a really easy way to read it in without having to retype, and that should save you a lot of time. Sharing in Liz, who uses this one, for her high school students, they have their app on their phone and they can study, but it looks like they're playing a game. And that's one of the things I really like about Quizlet, too. And you can not only use the ones that they, of course, have built for you, but you can build your own. And I know that Springbrook and Liz and some of her partners have been having the students create their own Quizlets. So they use some of the collaborative activities we've shown, the vocab reviews, the Google Docs. They make up their Quizlets and then put them in for the class. So you're taking a teacher activity, I need to make a study guide, and empowering your students to say, if this works for you, make yourself a study guide, and then share with your friends. That is as easy as the hardest part is what it always is, developing the content. The ability to do it is really easy. And as you can see, elementary folks, there's an ability to add an image and record. So for students that are less verbal, or where you'd like to, drop and use pictures, you can do that as well. Thoughts, go ahead and throw them in the chat. Smiley faces. Was studying worth it? I'm also going to share an idea, actually, that Liz and I came up with. One of the that folks had that we're talking about, and I've heard this at a number of different schools and places too, is with everything online, if you don't have an online device, a connected device with you, I'm going to document here. How do the kids sometimes lose the ability to just really quickly flip through their notes before the test? Of course, yes, we want to study all the night before, but we all did it. What's the 2 or 3 things that you just really want to make sure you get in your head because you weren't sure of? And without that paper in front of them, it's all, this was a fun idea, and they have their notes maybe on paper. What if they did something on paper? What if they wrote something down? How do they get a view doc? Well, you can use an add-on like speech recognition in docs. What it lets you do is it captures your speaking. So let's say your students have been taking notes and they did it in a journal on paper. That's fine. But they want to create a centralized standard document with all their notes. Well, what up their pieces of paper where they organize things and just started speaking their notes into the computer. New paragraph. New paragraph. It can be a relatively rough draft, period, new paragraph. Cold War, hyphen. But it gets their notes on the computer in kind of a one singular place that they know they can review, period. Plus, it's kind of a sneaky way to get students to go back and get them in a different format, which you all know is actually just another way to study, period. Using an add-on like as like speech recognition, you can get students to transfer maybe notes they have in a lot of different places into one single guide without having to have them type, which can be a barrier for some students, and in a really efficient way to have them transfer their notes. Not least, was being worth it. And this is an idea that also comes out of Springbrook High School. And for part of their SLOs, have been connecting effort and types of questions students are answering to student progress and trying to make sure they have a really strong connection between the effort, was it worth it, and studying. And they created a paper-based last year after you took each test. On top of it, you rated how you thought you did on it. Well, as they started moving more and more assessments into forms, they have found they have decided to take those questions about effort and put them on the quizzes themselves. So this is my little sample Carrie quiz. What's your name, your email. I'd pretty much continue here. They added this isn't theirs, these are just mine, rate your level of effort and what would you do differently. I used my students predict what grade they thought they'd get on it based on their effort. It's that same kind of idea. A couple areas that we troubleshooted was what happens when students answer these quiz questions? How to grade in Flubaroo the level of effort? Well, there's an awesome add-on called with the quiz results. If you've used it, give me a yes or a yay out there. And what Flubaroo does is it grades assessments for you. So you go to your add-ons, it will, pretty much do what a Scantron machine does. It will bubble what the correct answers are. Oops, come back to my Carrie quiz results and go to add-ons and go to Flubaroo and grade assignment. A lot of folks out there who said yes on it. If you do, you can go ahead and put what points are right and which point are wrong, but you don't want to give credit for rate your level of effort or what do differently next time. So for folks out there using it, you just pick skip grading. Any questions that to grade needs to be identify student, which or skip grading. Now when I go ahead and grade this assessment, I pick which one's the right answer. I probably should have named it key, right? And go continue. We'll go through and grade all my assessments for me. How I did on them, but it doesn't bother to score. It just tells me next graded on the other questions. Adding a level of effort to your work and assessing a quiz that it's not graded in Flubaroo is a nice way to connect effort with student work. If you have any, go ahead and throw them in the chat or a smiley face. Was it worth it studying? How simple it is to ask students for their level of effort and how they felt about it, and if we can do anything to help them. But it's simple, but really powerful. And our last segment of the day is our break room PD, a reoccurring feature here. And I'm going to turn it over to Lynn, who's going to take us through this one.
Yeah, so Break Room PD is really just to get you thinking about all your different resources that we have available to you for Google Apps for Education. So those of you who already know who your instructional technology specialist is, yay, because you should, and if you don't, you can find out. So first thing, do I have control, Carrie? Can I make it switch myself? Can you guys see? Ask your school's instructional technology specialist for support. You can email your instructional technology specialist and get your questions answered directly from them. They can come out to your school. They can support you in planning. They can suggest apps. I mean, it's limitless how we can support you, and that's what Carrie, Lisa, and I are. We're all instructional technology specialists, and our offices are all off of Cherry, which I'm sure you guys have all been there. Some other things, some other options that you have, if you have questions, you can search your drive with an advanced search. And I'm not sure if you've actually done that or not, but we, teachers, people, there's tons of resources available within MCPS. So if you do advanced search, which you go up to the top of your drive page and you type in what you're looking for, so maybe you're looking for some more stuff on forms. So you can type in forms, and you can change your file type if you know it's a document or you know it's a form. You can change that. You can check if you know it's not something you did, or if it is something you did, you can change that owned by anyone to it's mine. And then that last little one, the search mcpsmd.net, that's going to get you so that you have access to things only within the MCPS. So if you know somebody created something and you can't find it, you can try this type of advanced search. And that can help you. And don't forget, because we do this all the time, you can Google it. Google has a ton of stuff. They have classes you can take. You can become an expert on Gmail, for example, if you want to. If you want more information on Google Calendars, they have step-by-step how-to. Same thing with forms. But there's a ton of stuff out there in video format that you can watch and learn step by step. Carrie happens to be an expert screencaster and has made some awesome stuff that you can follow step by step visually with a screencast. So don't forget the power of the Google because we use it ourselves all the time. I said really fast. Does anybody have any questions? You can throw them in the chat. And if it's all good and clear and you get it, then give me a smiley face. And cool stuff. Yay! Support that you can get. We're here. We're here to help you. We want to help you. We want nothing more than for you to be successful at your schools, in your classroom, with your personal growth and development, with your team growth and development, your planning, your everyday, so.
If you'd like more support, if you'd like more support as well, don't forget our Appy Hour site. I just threw a link to it in the chat. All of these recordings are found on it, and you can watch them anytime, including me. I watch them while making sushi with my kids. So if I can watch a webinar while whipping up some shrimp tempura, you can too. We're attended with us today. If you have any extra questions, you can go ahead and throw them in the chat. And make sure to take our support survey. The best part about the survey is when you close the link to the Appy Hour now, when you do that, you'll actually get taken directly to our survey. So it opens up directly for you, which is kind of a nice bonus. So you can just close it. If you're ready to roll and you're good, you can close yourself out. And if not, I'll post a link to that in the chat in just a quick second. And I do want to give a special shout out to Springbrook High School, where the genesis for We Need to Study came about through some really good collaborative conversations out there. So thanks a lot to Springbrook. I told, I'll tell you, I threatened and or warned Aaron that your guys' stuff was going to get referenced today, this afternoon. So thanks again to the guys and to everybody who attended. Whether in person with us today, although we got a great group, or do them from recording. Make sure that even if you watch this as a recording, that you take our survey, because we do give you an hour of PDO credit, whether you watched it live or whether you watched it as a recording. So make sure you get that link in there, and thank everybody for coming today.